Oof. What a gardening season this has been. That's the reason I haven't been shooting any videos. There isn't a whole lot worth shooting. Can't be crowing about too much this year. Besides that, I built a paddleboard, and now I'm building a second one. The second prototype that's going to become a manual on how to build it, but that's for another time. I'm finally going to plant another bed with some Swiss chard and some beets. Built another bed cap, just finished it last night. So between the bunnies and the bears and the deer and the crows, the drought, of course, and the heat, and it didn't help having a hard freeze the end of May. It's been a struggle. We're going to plant this, and I'm going to show you kind of an interesting way I came up with for, instead of direct seeding into the garden, basically transplanting. So the first thing we're going to do is temporarily remove our chopped leaves. Because we are growing in living soil, we are nurturing the decomposers, and the big ticket item, of course, is the earthworms. So these leaves have been on here since May. And one difference between living soil gardening and that other kind of gardening is that we have to water our gardens whether they're planted or not. Because we're not watering the plants, we're watering the critters that are living in the soil, keeping them healthy and happy so they can do our work for us. So I'm just going to get these leaves off. I'll stockpile them temporarily in this wheelbarrow, and then we'll go ahead and plant, and I'll show you how we do it. So here's my innovation. Now, there's nothing new about starting plants in gutters and then sliding the plants in your potting mix out of the gutters and onto your prepared bed. I tried that. It didn't work too well for me. Well, gutters, it's hard to slide a nice fluffy potting mix in it out. It just kind of acts like an accordion. You try to push it out and it just kind of pushes together, and it takes a little manipulation. Maybe somebody's having a better way of doing it, but I came up with this instead. So what these are 2 channels, and this is drain, like foundation drain. I'll show you here in a minute. But I cut mine into 3-foot pieces, which is more manageable for me. The inside of our raised beds isn't a full 8 feet, so I didn't want to go 4 feet. So each of these will plant a 6-foot row. And I just cut some of that packing foam that when you buy things that need protection, I just cut those to act as plugs to keep the potting mix in there. So I just planted peas and Swiss chard in these. Dang, now I forgot which are which. Anyways, they've been in here for so long. They've been on the porch here, and I wasn't going to plant them till I had a bed cap because the deer were going to just eat them. So then yesterday, a stinking little bunny hopped up and mowed down half of them. So anyways, I still have some, and I'll just reseed some more. But we're going to plant these. There are a lot of earthworms that are not too tickled with me right now. But it's a temporary disturbance, and I'm trying not to kill any. But they are everywhere in here. And as soon as we get planted, I'll put them back to work. So the way I do this is I just take one of these, take my little foam plugs out of there, and it has a movable floor. That's kind of the key for me. So I just slide out my first row here, next to my little trench that I dug with the garden rake. And now I'm going to slide out the next one. Okay, so they're still sitting on my little floor. So what I use is just the taping knife, the same one that I'm going to use on the paddleboard, and just kind of gently spatula that off. And this one's so dry that that really didn't work too well. So, but yeah, it's just crumbly. This one should work better here. So you can just get in underneath and loosen up the potting mix from that floor. And I'm sure some of you can probably come up with an even better way to do that, but that works for me. So it goes much nicer if there's moisture in the potting mix, like unlike this crumbly thing. So then I'm just going to kind of backfill around my little blocks there. Hey, little guy, get back to work there now. See, they're just everywhere in here. Not as many as there were earlier. We're in a drought. Okay, I'll get the rest of these planted and we'll recover it with chopped leaves. Yeah, I'm down to the last row here, so that'd give you one more shot. So what I do is I kind of just open it up a little bit and kind of loosens the sides, which helps. It's a little tough working here right up against the edge. There we go. And again, this one's really dry. Way too dry. They really come off nicely when the soil is moist. But you get the idea here. Now I'm going to water these in and then put the leaves back on. Now you want a nice gentle mist on these things because they've been through a lot. They should recover fairly well, most of them. At least they stand a chance now that I'll have a bed cap on this bed. Now, we'll get our worm food back on there and we'll put the bed cap on. Now the way I like to put the chopped leaves back on in the rows, especially around tender plants, is you grab a handful and really scrunch them down into your fist. Now, that's the advantage of them being chopped, is you can really compact and compress them and get your hand down where you want your load to go and then release it. And this works really well for going around onions and carrots and smaller things. So we'll just finish this up. And go from there. There. Ha ha! Take that, you bunnies. Yeah. It's one thing keeping the deer out. We've done it for years with electric fence, but they don't keep the rabbits out. We used to have to wage war on them, and I don't like doing that. I just talked to that little bunny yesterday. I saw it hopping around the yard. I said, you know, as long as you behave yourself, we're going to get along just fine. And then it hopped up and ate half of our beets. But everything's hungry this year. Everything's struggling. My goodness sakes. Since, well, the end of May, we had 29 degrees, and then the entire month of June, we had a grand total for the entire month. I totaled it up 1 inch of rain, total. So far in July, we have had 1/10. You probably can't smell it, but this isn't overcast today, it's smoke from the fires out in the west, northwest. This is scary stuff. It's so dry. But using our method, we do very little watering. Now I'll take you on a tour of the garden another time. I gotta quit here pretty quick. But, oh, let me show you here what I use to make those channels. Okay, I don't know how well you can see it. Let's open this up here. So this is what they look like. This one's been cut, but they come in 12-foot lengths. This one somehow reason I cut. I bought these years ago. I had a scheme for doing a flow-through hydroponic system. I never did. So I had about 5 of these up in the rafters in the pole barn. Thank goodness I didn't throw them out. Sometimes it's good not to throw things out. But it'll be another video to show you how I turned them into my sliding transplanters. I'll have to come up with a catchier name than that. So that'll be another day. Until next time, then, this is Mark again with Backwood Basics. And oofta, let's get through this gardening season together.